Wow, what a week for the Trump White House in so many ways. Anthony Scaramucci, former White House communications director and founder of Skybridge Capital. Where to begin? I mean, there is a lot that has happened this week.
My heart, your heart, all of our hearts go out to the families, and it's just an unspeakable tragedy. But same time, you have to admire the resilience of all of these people who actually put the paper out, too. I mean, it's just an amazingly sad story, but a lot of resilience there.
Indeed it is. And, there's been so much discussion about journalism and about fake news. There was a Reuters editor who had to issue an apology because he made a horrible remark initially after, citing some blame for the president, which is just awful. I mean, before anybody even knew anything about the circumstances here. So, I mean, that's kind of the world that we live in right now, unfortunately.
It's the world we live in, but I also think we have to try to figure out how we're going to reduce these shootings. And so, I mean, it's not even a left or right decision anymore. It's just what are the right or wrong policies to put in place to see if we can get a reduction in these shootings. And so, for me, it's obviously a mental health issue. If you look at the person and you look at what people were saying about the person, we just have to work on the signaling on this stuff and get it right, because
I mean, when you have an editor who's given a picture to the security guy, there needs to be a way to draw a circle around that person and make sure that that those red flags go up before something like this happens.
And politicizing it, Martha, is not going to help the situation. Bringing the president into the orbit of the thing is not fair to the president. It's also not fair to the situation. And so I'm glad that guy walked it back.
Let's go through some of what happened this week. Obviously, news that a lot of people were not expecting. Justice Anthony Kennedy stepping down from the bench. The president has now said that he's going to have his nominee ready by July 9, which is a week from Monday. It's a short time frame. He says he's got 5 people in mind. 2 of them are women. Do you know who he's going to pick?
Yeah, I don't 100% know who he's going to pick. I know the family seems to be close to a few of these guys, so we'll have to see what happens. But the president picked a great jurist last time. Justice Gorsuch is a phenomenal jurist. He'll pick a phenomenal jurist this time. What I definitely think people should just relax for a second and give him the opportunity to pick somebody before they start digging trenches again. So it's sort of weird. I was thinking about Justice Scalia. We were talking about him earlier today. It was 97-0. Justice Scalia was appointed to the Supreme Court. And so we're in a situation now where it goes right down the partisan lines. You had to go into the nuclear option for this situation. But in the meantime, if you think about the quality of the people that the president is going to pick from an interview, these are all exceptional Americans, exceptional people. And so I just hope we can just dial it back a little on the polemics, if you will.
So in terms of the White House, the chief of staff, yesterday he made comments. Basically, Kellyanne Conway came out. We have no indication that John Kelly is considering leaving the White House. Tonight, it sounded like the president kind of opened that door a little bit to that possibility. Well,
listen, I think it's ultimately the president's choice. And so, obviously, if Chief of Staff Kelly wants to leave, he can leave voluntarily. But it's going to be up to the two of them. We can sit here and speculate about that. But I mean,
so
what I
hope Hicks might come back.
What I tell you, I'm not in love with, and I'll continue to say this, I'm not in love with the leaking. John Kelly deserves the opportunity to have that conversation with the president, and it deserves to stay inside of that circle. And so I just find it ironic that every time something super sensitive is happening one way or the other, it ends up dispersing from the White House in this sort of ridiculous anonymous way. So I'm not totally in love with that.
There's a lot of people there who like to talk, as you know.
Anonymously.
And that's what's happening
anonymously. They run out, they get their cell phone out of the locker, and they run outside and they like chitter-chattering, and it's sort of not fair. And so, I have had issues with General Kelly in the past. He's had issues, obviously, with me. But I think he's owed the respect, frankly, of having that conversation with the president. He's been a decorated veteran. He served his country well, and he should be able to leave gracefully.
All right. I want to play something for you, because watch the contrast between what President Trump said yesterday when he was at Foxconn in Wisconsin and what some of his critics are saying about what they hope will happen to the economy. Watch this.
America is open for business more than it has ever been open for business. It's made in the USA. It's all happening, and it's happening very, very quickly.
If a recession hits.
You think that's where bottom falls out?
I think so.
I feel like the bottom has to fall out at some point. And by the way, I'm hoping for it, because I think one way you get rid of Trump is a crashing economy.
Fabulous, right? Hoping for a recession. Hoping for a recession.
So, I mean, this is all part of the derangement syndrome that people talk about. Okay, this is the same thing that got the Reuters editor in trouble. They just severely dislike the president. Some of it's more related to his style. It's really not related to the policies, because I challenge, and I'm sure I'll get lit up on Twitter after I say this, but I challenge you to come up with one policy over the last 17 or 18 months that the president has promulgated that has led to a disruption in your life or a lower living standard or some kind of disavow of your quality of life. And the answer is there hasn't been any. So obviously the economy does fall. That will be an issue for all politicians, and it'll be an issue for all companies in America, and that'll be a lot of pain. So I really wish that Bill didn't say that. Having said that, the very good news is the policies have been fantastic. The stimulus has been fantastic as it relates to the tax cuts that they were celebrating earlier today. And I think you're going to see maybe even a 4.5–5% print on GDP for the second quarter. And so the economists at Skybridge think that we've got a very good accelerated quarterly growth going into the end of the year.
And let's play this from the president in the interview that he did
about that too,
with Maria. Just watch this. I want to get your thought on it.
Because we've seen the impact to the economy. What do you want to see happen now? Does the economy need even more stimulus? Are you looking for a phase 2 tax
We're
plan?
doing a phase 2. We'll be doing it probably in October, maybe a little sooner than that. And it'll be more of a middle class. We did a lot for the middle class, but this will be even more aimed at the middle class. One of the things we're thinking about is bringing the 21% down to 20%. And then for the most part, the rest of it would go right to the middle class. It's a great stimulus.
Which tax code is he talking about there? 21 to 20.
Yeah, that's the corporate tax cut. It's at 21 now. He's talking about possibly bringing it down to 20, which means it probably will happen. But here's the great thing about him, and this will ultimately be his legacy. He recognizes that he has to close the gap here in terms of income spread and helping middle-class families and lower-middle-class families on the campaign. That was his pledge. And it's policies like that that are free market-based in their orientation that are going to get that done more than any other policy. So,
do you think that's an offset for some of the trade issues? If you lower corporate tax rates a little bit further, is that an incentive for companies like Harley-Davidson, for example, to maybe change their mind?
Yeah, on the margin. But I think what's happening is they're jumping the gun on the president. They're missizing his negotiation strategy. And I think he's asking him to be patient. Those allies of ours and also the Chinese know that the trade situation is unbalanced, and they know that he's using that as a cudgel, those tariffs, to bring it down. And I would call on all corporations, large and small, to give the president a little bit of time to watch him work this thing the way he worked the North Korean situation. And so for me, by the end of the year, my guess is he's very close on NAFTA. He's very close on negotiating something with the EU. And I think it's going to be good news for everybody.
Oh, it's going to be a big week for Mexico, too. Big election there.
Happy 4th,
Thank
by the
you
way.
very much. Happy 4th to you. Good to see you.
Good
Thanks for coming in.